appreciate your patience. So again, what we're about to do is go into a Q&A session for the next 30 minutes. You can ask questions, get some answers. I'm going to have 2 mic runners, so please be patient. We're going to give you a microphone and ask the question so everybody can hear you, and then they're going to be able to respond. And then in about 30 minutes in, we're going to give you an opportunity for 30 minutes to come, shake their hand, do autographs, and take some private photos with them. All right? Anybody got the first question?
I just want to direct it to Bizzle. I followed you when you did that Well Wishes movement. It inspired me. I went over a few weeks ago to Africa to help build a bridge with Bridges to Prosperity. So I was just wondering if you were going to do anything else similar for the motherland.
Praise God. I'm actually, and I'm going to tell y'all, but I'm actually trying to move on to more villages and kind of duplicate the same thing because we ended up having a little bit of money left over. And we still have, from the people who are just now going and getting well wishes, we still have some coming in, so I'm still designating that to fulfilling whatever needs we can find. And I'm working with the same people, couldou.org, and we're just going to find out where there are new needs. And next time I do it with an album, though, it'll be for whatever cause, you know, God leads, just like this one was. Right here in the front. Yo, y'all be blowing the inbox up. Y'all not putting your hand up right now, though. Y'all gonna get y'all questions on.
This is directed at 7. You did I guess I'll call it a USA mission trip. And my wife and I was praying for it and supporting it in all types of ways. We appreciate you sharing that info with us, that you were doing that. We would like to know some of the results of some of the things that came out of that mission trip.
It was powerful. We ended up hopping in the van for like 4 months. Me and about 5 or 6 other guys that I was discipling at the time. And we went to about 75 different cities, different neighborhoods across the country. I think we only ended up maybe doing about 5 or 6 churches, like everything. If it wasn't in the hood, we wasn't even really trying to be there. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, we saw, I think one of the main things, we saw a dude, we laid hands on this one dude who was deaf and he could hear. And it was so real that his family like gave their life to God, you know what I'm saying? And then there was another little kid who showed up at the show on crutches, and we just started worshiping. I think I was on the piano and we were just worshiping God and just kind of going, you know, and all of a sudden this kid like threw his crutches off and just started like walking, you know what I'm saying? And he threw his crutches in the garbage and he was straight, you know what I'm saying? So, and nobody even prayed for him. It was just like the spirit fell on him and he got healed, bro. So, there's things like that. I mean, I'm still, we were able to plant Bible studies in some cities, like in homes, almost like some church plants and stuff. And a lot of cats just, reaching. It's sad, and I want to encourage you guys, man, like, don't assume that Americans have heard the gospel.
Right.
You feel me? Because most of them have not, especially our generation that had kids. Like, our generation don't even really go to church no more. So the generation under us is completely unchurched for the most part. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to encourage you guys, man. We hit the road with $1,000. $1,000 we hit the road. It cost $55,000 for us to do that. And to this day, I don't know how God did what he did. You know what I'm saying? So I just say all that to say, like, when he tells you to go, man, like, just go. You feel me? Like, he's going to provide the way. You know, don't start looking at your bank account and letting money, make your decisions for you. You feel me? So, yeah.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Mo Edwards from Just Gospel Entertainment here in Texas. And we're doing what's called Queens of the Mic. And we're promoting and empowering female artists in the gospel industry. And my question to you all is, what is it going to take to promote female artists? Because it seems like it's still male dominant. And there's a lot of great female artists out there. So I'm just kind of asking you guys, is any of your labels going to promote female artists, and what we need to do to help that?
I can tell you, speak for myself personally, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I don't grade on a curve. Whether you female or male, you have to get busy on the mic. I can't be like, she's dope for a girl. She has to be dope, period. I know one girl that I've been having in mind to sign. A lot of you heard her, probably don't know that I've been thinking about signing her. But there's one that I definitely have in mind that I kind of been building with. But you know, you also have to take into consideration as a label, a bunch of dudes going out, you know what I'm saying? That's another room, guaranteed. The accountability factor changes. You know, we was out till 2 o'clock in the morning eating, and then we got haircuts in the room at 3, like 2 a.m. with dudes and females mixed don't really be a good situation. So even when you're a leader, you have to think about those types of things. And then also, women have to definitely support women, you know what I'm saying? Because what you can end up with is a WNBA situation where people are like, yo, you know, we want this, and then they do it and then no one supports it. The people who say they wanted it don't support it. So I'm definitely for it, because what I don't want to create is where the male is always speaking to the female problems, and then those females are looking up to the males, because that can even create an issue. Like, we need women who can speak to women from that background, who know it, who've been through it in a whole different kind of way than we can speak to them. But those are the obstacles that I feel like might hinder that a little bit. But I have one in mind, and you know, as soon as it makes sense, y'all gonna see it happen. But behind the scenes, I'm working on, and only these girls, this group of like 4 or 5 girls know this, I'm working on putting together an all-female cypher video, where, you know, God Over Money is just gonna co-sign females that I think are dope, and they're not signing me. I'm just gonna push it. I'm gonna, you know, try to fly them all to one location, and just for the reason that you say, to have women represented, so that we can show that there are females with bars out there. But there's only one that I've considered personally.
I myself and Hogmob, we're actually working on doing the same thing. Hopefully by the end of this year, I wanted to put together, I got a women's ministry called Queen, where we basically just try to teach women, like, you know, your royalty in the kingdom and your identity in Christ and different things like that. So I'm actually looking to put together an entire compilation of women. And it doesn't just have to be rappers, like spoken word artists, you know what I'm saying, singers and stuff. Because I've seen the same thing. It's just predominantly, you know, males in this. But what we go through shows all the time, I mean, a lot of women come to the shows, and a lot of women are going through a lot of problems, you know what I'm saying? And I personally know myself well enough to know that I shouldn't be the one intimately engaging, you know, in ministry with women, you feel me? So we're doing the best we can, but also at the same time trying to protect ourselves and stay within our boundaries of accountability as well, you know? So just keep us in prayer with that.
I don't think I'm looking for any female artists at all. But I would say this, there's a lot of dope female artists that are out right now. And I was actually in communication with one in January and her husband, which was interesting. And that's another element as well, because you got to look at, you know, sometimes when they fly out, you know, the manager or whoever it is, they fly out with them. And that's an extra ticket. And so, but it's a lot of elements in that. But as of right now, what I'm doing, Jesus, we're not looking for any female artists. But like Bizzle said, he got my complete support on that side for them.
How you gentlemen doing today? I just want to first start off. My name is DeMario. I appreciate what you all are doing. I thank God for the gift that He's put on y'all. Bizzle, I got a question for you. You're a family man. I've watched the movement and I've heard you talk about it. Can you tell me how you manage to balance family, pressure, the industry, management? How do you manage it?
I can only tell you how I try. I don't feel like I'm successful in that area like that. I even I have a song on the next album that's literally about that. Like, I'm raising 2 little boys. Sometimes I do wonder if when they look back, all they're gonna remember is knocking on the door and me saying I'm busy. And you know, it does take a toll on you when you have to say goodbye. Like my son was like, even when I was leaving this time, like, I wish you could stay here with us. You know what I'm saying? And it hurts, but I also gotta do God's work. I also have to do work, period. So I try to, and what I'm in the middle of trying to do now is set a schedule, right? Because usually when you have a 9 to 5, you go, you clock in, you work, and then as soon as you clock out, you're not worried about that job no more. You're with your family. With me, especially being a CEO, my mind never clocks out, ever. When I'm laying in bed on business mode, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to do is create a schedule to where I wake up, you know, I give them the word, I do that around 9. By 10, I'm doing work and I'm trying to be done by like 5 or 6 and really clock all the way out and just spend time with the family. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now in order to keep it balanced and just keep date nights going with the wife. You know what I'm saying? Get the babysitter, go out and just be us, because you can get so used to working in the positions of mommy and daddy that you're not really being a husband and wife often enough and doing those types of things. So trying to keep the date nights popping and be 100% husband, be 100% father when I am, trying to keep my phone down and not be playing catch and holding the phone and like, hold on, because all of that stuff kind of gets in the way. So that's actually a struggle that I'm dealing with right now. I'm trying to get better every day. So definitely y'all keep me in prayer in that area.
I appreciate that. I face the same issue. So I just wanted to see from another man's point of view, you know, what their perspective is, and I appreciate your answer.
Amen. Thank you.
Carlos Johnson here with my son Caleb from Charlotte, North Carolina. This is to any one of you. The other day we were riding together, we were listening to the Willie Moore Jr. show, and D1 came on with his new single, Sally Mae. And he and I both, we are still praying for the day that we will be listening to an entire show of hip-hop gospel. So my question to any one of you is, will I live long enough to see that? First, and my follow-up question to that is, what is the biggest hurdle to really hearing hip-hop gospel, a full show of that on the FM radio? I mean, where we really can hear it. So anyone who wants to address that.
I can definitely say from a business aspect, it still has to make sense. In gospel and rap, the sound, the content can be similar sometimes, right? That we're both trying to glorify God, but the content, the way it sounds is so different that chances are, if you really rock with this gospel sound, you probably don't really rock with the rap sound like that. It's not like rap and urban R&B where they're a closer mix, and when you switch over to one, it's not so drastic of a change, and sometimes they have rappers on their songs. So you run more of a risk when you're on the gospel station. You have your demographic that's usually older, you know what I'm saying? And then you throw on something that is just, they really can't connect with, and people don't want to, and this, you know, on the business side, stations stay up by getting advertisements and all of that stuff, like, so they don't want to lose listeners. And it would be the same thing if on a hip-hop station, all of a sudden they played country songs. They would lose, like, people would literally turn the station, or if they skipped by and they heard country, they'd keep it going if they were looking for rap. So it's definitely not that easy, but as the market grows for Christian rap, then you're not going to be able to ignore it. And that goes for anything. That's what happened for hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, there was too many of them for you to act like they wasn't there. And with Christian rap, I feel like it's becoming the same thing now. And you do have people launching Christian rap stations, but it has to work from the ground up, just like Christian rap as a genre. You know what I'm saying? People were back, especially like when Sales started, people weren't doing some of the things that they're doing now. So I think you're going to get to watch it grow. Some of the stations are not able to do the big things that the gospel stations can do right now, but they're definitely popping up. There's one in Orlando. There's one they just created in Houston that's kind of, you know, they're still mixing it with the pop and rap, but they're starting to play it. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think you'll be alive to see it. It ain't gonna be that long, hopefully.
To answer your second question, as far as what the biggest hurdle is that I see is the church playing both sides when it comes to what they support musically. You know what I'm saying? We got to understand what music is and what it's designed to do, you feel what I'm saying, and really understand that what you're listening to and what you're supporting, like you're supporting a side in a war, you feel me? And we're at war for the minds of the youth. We're at war, you know what I'm saying, for our righteous morality and different things like that. And music is one of the biggest weapons that exists on either side, you feel me? So if on one hand, you know, you playing something that offends God and offends your spirit and all of that, and on the other side, you want to on Sunday, you know, throw in your gospel music, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. And then we want to ask, well, dang, I wonder why Christian rap ain't bigger and why it ain't better. I mean, you got 75% of the country claiming that it's Christian. If that were true, well, then there wouldn't really be any other stations but Christian stations. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I think this stuff is just goes to show that what we are claiming that we are sometimes is not really what we live in. And I think that we should take that as a personal challenge to really step our game up in terms of what we represent and really do it all the way. You know, if anybody in here, man, if you guys are listening to secular music, like I would really challenge you, first of all, to ask yourself, why is that even entertaining to you? You know? I mean, I'm sure everybody in here loved their mother. What if I did a song disrespecting your mama? Are you going to go dance around to that too? You know what I'm saying? So these are the things we have to ask ourselves is why are we even capable of calling this stuff entertaining? And also recognize that brothers like us, like we really are working hard to, you know what I'm saying, keep it real and true to this. And we do need your guys' support, you know what I'm saying? Even beyond just the listening, but even like the purchasing of records and stuff like that. Like we come from a culture in Christianity that's supposed to be honest and have integrity and stuff like that, and yet, you know, people are constantly bootlegging gospel artists' music and stuff, and it's just crazy to me sometimes. Like, this is our opportunity to outsell the world even, you know? Like, nobody should be selling more records than Christian artists when everybody's stealing music right now. You know what I'm saying? But once again, you know, because that true integrity of who we're supposed to be and stuff is kind of falling through the cracks, you know what I'm saying? This culture is suffering. So, you know, I think we just need to step our game up in that area because that's the biggest hurdle that I see.
Seven, I had a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask you if you like the Golden State Warriors.
Do I like the Golden State Warriors? I do now, man. Go Warriors. Bizzle does too.
I got a question for, I guess, all y'all, so I can all answer. This world is evil. I want to know what y'all do when people send y'all threats in person, you know, Facebook, whatever. How do you handle that stuff and show them love?
I answer it pretty simple. I send them back the scripture that says, every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess that Jesus is Lord. And that's it. I don't waste my time on what people feel about me because I know what God thinks about me from reading scripture. So threats coming from another human being, I'm really stepping it out.
I've gotten to the point now, like, it used to get my attention, and I used to be very reactive to it, you know what I'm saying? But at this point, one, I've never gotten it in person. I've gotten it a million times online, not one time in person. So I'm like, yo, man, I need to quit. I shouldn't even let that take that much real estate in my mind, you know what I'm saying? But now I just try to just block it out, and, you know, the Lord got us. It is what it is. I'm used to it now.
Man, I've learned like to make my reflex action when something like that is to like pray for somebody. You know what I'm saying? It's like really pray for that person, you know, because they lost. You feel me? The same way, I mean, those that persecuted Christ, they didn't have eyes to see, you know? And so I try to approach it with love and not take it personal. Like usually 9 times out of 10, with whatever issue they have with me is because I look like Jesus or I'm doing something that he was doing, you know, whether it's kicking it with the homies in the hood, trying to bring them light, or, you know what I'm saying, confronting an issue, you know, in sin, you know, a popular issue of the day, and people, you know what I'm saying, want to get at you. I mean, I've had people physically, you know, try to engage me before, and was well within probably even my right to physically harm an individual, but you know, turn the other cheek, pray for them as much as I possibly can. I try not to draw lines in the sand and say, okay, well, you know, once they do this, then I'm finna trip, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I take as much as I possibly can, and then I try to take just a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, you know, it's what the word says, man, pray for those that despitefully use you, you feel me? Bless those that curse you.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Deshay. I am a Christian rap host of an internet radio station. And I'm also hosting the show that Mo was saying about the Queens of Might. And I was going to ask that about the female, but he kind of touched on that. But my question was, as far as, because he was touched on that a little bit about the internet radio stations, and we have the regular radio stations. So do y'all make a difference on submitting music to not submit to internet radio stations to play music? Or do y'all just submit if you have music like for us to play as well?
I'm not good at submitting music to anybody. I'm not. I got mad people that be like, yo, yeah, like you're supposed to service the DJs and do all this stuff, and they always be reminding me. But usually people just get my music how they get it, and it ends up on radio. But that's something I need to get better at. As far as if people differentiate between internet and radio, I think initially, because it's easy for someone to create a website or create a blog, go to Blog Talk, or, you know, one of those things, that it makes it, I don't want to say less appealing, but when everybody can do it, it's harder to sift through who the real ones are. Like, so then you have to start looking for indicators. So you might go to the website, and if the website looks like they took time and putting their joint together, you more likely to be like, okay, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? But if it looks like Microsoft Word fonts and stuff like that, you're gonna be like, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? The same way you probably would if you looked at my album cover and that joint looked like I did it with a Sharpie, or if I wrote on a CD, like we subconsciously look at it and we kind of judge how we're gonna react. So as long as the presentation is well and is done in excellence, then I don't think it matters as much. But because terrestrial radio takes more commitment and investment to get started in, I think that's why people, because you can have more listeners on internet radio, but it's harder to tell who's really at it. But it takes so much to get started on terrestrial radio that I think, you know, that they probably get the first look.
I actually have an email blast list that I send, anytime I release a new record, I send it to any email that I have in my email blast. And I think that's one of the things that if the artists don't know that your station exists, it's kind of hard to get it to you. So you know, I think one of the things is, you know, communicate with the artists a lot more. Let them know that you guys do exist, that you're there to support them in a way that you desire to support them as well. So for me, I send it to, I don't know what's really going on out there. I mean, I get a lot of internet, radio interviews, and you know, so all these things. So, but I kind of got to the point where when the emails come back as undelivered, I realize that it doesn't exist. So that's when I delete it. But other than that, if I have the email, and I think that goes for any artist, they would love to submit their music and get that music heard on your channel.
this is more of a comment about my brother over there about, you know, the evil. We kind of know when you start bearing the cross, stuff like that's going to happen, you know, with the threats. That's, you know, because the devil hate what y'all doing. It's almost like the word Jesus is offensive now. But I want to pretty much appreciate you, Bizzle, because that's how I ended up finding 7. And then 7, GX, you know, and I want to just encourage you guys, don't water down what y'all doing. Whatever you do, don't water it down. 7, you keep it real, all 3 of y'all. So just keep up the good work and don't water down that word.
Amen. Thank you.
GS, question for you. I was greatly encouraged by the urban ministry that you shared on YouTube, or at least that's where I saw it. I consider myself an urban missionary. I think every Christian probably should consider themselves that as well. And so I was hoping that you could share with everybody, some folks may have not heard about it, what you got out of that mission that you went on, and how did that affect your music that you wrote out in purpose?
Okay. A couple years ago, I had the opportunity to go to New Orleans during the Mardi Gras and witness on Bourbon Street where everybody is at. One of the most difficult things about it was when you arrive, you can feel, and it's a weird, I don't know how to explain it, but like you can literally feel the sin in the air. Like it is like one of the most devilish places, you know what I'm saying? Like you can be, and I mean everything that when you read about Sodom and Gomorrah, some of the things that pop up in your head, that's actually what happens on Bourbon Street. And so the opportunity to go there and minister, in the beginning I was kind of like, yo, this is a little bit much. You know, when I go to the hood, the worst thing I got to worry about is a dude with a pistol, you know what I mean, you know, some dope on him, and like, I come from that, so that's normal. But you don't see a naked man, you know, running down the street talking crazy like, and, you know, everybody's like, F Jesus, this out the blue, like, you know. And so it was things that you just never expected, you know what I mean. And so I had to adjust real fast, and I'll be honest with you, the entire time I was praying. I was like, yo, God, I don't know what you got me here for, but I'm hoping and praying that some things happen. And there was a young man there. I'll share this and then I'll end this. But a young man was there, a white guy, and he came up to me, had a muscle shirt on, and he was, I mean, you know, drunk and stuff, and kind of muscular white dude. And I started to talk to him, and he wasn't trying to hear nothing I was saying. And I didn't know why at first. And then I began to talk to him more and talk to him more, and then I seen an opening. The Holy Spirit spoke to me and told me to talk to his heart. I began to start speaking to his heart. The young man grabbed my hand and started crying in the middle of the street on Bourbon Street. And he looked at he looked me in my face and he was like, man, no man ever made me cry. And you the first person to do it, and you black. So I was like, well, praise God for that, man. And the gentleman right there, he gave his life to the Lord right there on Bourbon Street. And so I was there, you know, 3 days, a couple of hours a day. But, you know, as I know for a fact that guy, life was changed. And I know that God had me there for that reason. I'll go again 3 days, multiple hours just for one person.
What's up, fellas? Ivory Pleasant from Amazing Grace. First of all, I just want to say big ups to you guys, man. I love what y'all doing. I pray for y'all, man. Keep y'all up in prayer, all the CHH artists. My question was, what can we expect next from you guys? And the beat to that is, how can we support you guys besides buying the albums, besides attending the shows? How can we be a support to what you guys are doing in the movement?
Yeah, as far as supporting us, for me personally, and I'm sure my bros kind of feel the same way, like, first and foremost is really live this thing out in your everyday life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it breaks my heart to see sometimes, like, with certain people, it's like the biggest thing that's happened to them in their Christian walk this year is like we put out an album. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, if we all really walk this thing out, like the support will naturally flow from us. You know, like we will continue to do what we y'all, and y'all will in turn give and be led by the Spirit, because God knows our needs, you know what I'm saying? But as far as like right now, I mean, I'm sure, you know, with Biz, like with the well wishers thing, you know, it's an ongoing thing. I mean, people need water every day, you understand? Just because you might have given last year, that need hasn't stopped, you feel me? And it's the same like with us, you know, we got Pray for My Hood initiatives where we go out to the hood and I think last year we gave away over $50,000 worth of Christian material in urban neighborhoods that weren't really getting the gospel. This year, my goal is to give away over $3 million worth of stuff across the country. But, you know, this takes support from the outside, you know what I'm saying? We don't like to beg, we don't like to, you know, do the $100 line here and the $1,000 line here, you know what I'm saying? But I would just say that I would encourage you guys too to support artists that are really doing ministry outside of music. You know, do your background, do your homework before you start supporting cats. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you're not supporting performers, but that you're really supporting ministers, because that's what this world really needs.
As for, what was the first question? What we had coming next? From Bizzle, you can expect Bizzle to rally behind Seven. Seven is the next artist dropping on the label. So, you know, for the next couple of months, everything is going to be about sales. You know, he has a story to tell, stories to tell. And he's gonna, you know, there's a way that only he can do it. So, and it might be a little different than what people are used to from GOM, but Seven has, I mean, he's one of the realest people I know. When I first came in, he took me under his arm, been my big brother, you know what I'm saying, ever since. So I'm excited to be able to just share his heart with the world. So yes, it's going to be about him for the next season. And then after that, it's Sale Out the Corner and dropping. And then after that, we back to Biz.
For me, I actually just released a mixtape, One Before Destruction, Volume 6. I'm in Volume 6. And about the support thing, that project is free. It's free download. And here's the thing, man. I released about 6-7 free projects. This project has 18 songs on it. All of those things honestly cost to produce. And so outside of the purchasing of the CDs and the shirts and things of that nature, we need people to know about what we do. So sharing our music, sharing the things that we do online with other people, that also increases our opportunity to minister to people that we wouldn't have access to and don't know anything about us. So we would definitely need that support. But as for myself, in June, my next project, I'm actually releasing an album in the month of June. And so that's what's coming next for me.
Hey man, let me just to add on, definitely what he said about sharing it, because when God said, first of all, we all have different testimonies. God took him through what he took him through. God allowed me to go through what I went through. God allowed him to go through the things he's been through. And you might not necessarily have that same testimony or whatever God has put on my heart to share, but it's as easy as passing it to someone else or sharing it with someone else and telling someone else about it, because a lot of people in here probably didn't come from a direct connect. A lot of y'all heard about it from somebody sitting next to you. You know what I'm saying? And it touched your life. It touched your life that way. But the world, people are sharing the poison. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be sharing the antidote the same way with the same excitement that they do. You know.
Another question I have for you all, anybody with Pastor can answer this one is, I've defended this, but I wanted to hear from maybe any of you all on this, is people would say the Bible says don't disregard for the life, right? And we can say some of you all have taken some secular artist beats and then rapped on top of it. Or we've seen you all have partnered up with, say, some secular artists, Bundy, B.O.B., E40, others like that. And I just wanted to hear y'all's perspective. I know what I said, but I wanted to maybe hear from you all your perspective on that collaboration.
All right. So, a couple things. As far as, you know, those collabs, those artists know the people that they collab with better than any of the people who have opinions on it. That's one thing that we gotta keep in mind too. Most of the people who say something about it go to work every day with non-believers. So they have to keep that in consideration as well when they tell you that you can't work with one. As far as rapping over secular beats, I have yet to have a person meet this challenge when I say, I will play you 10 beats, some from saved artists, producers, some from secular producers, and you need to be able to tell me, since your discernment is so sharp, which one the Christian produced. If you cannot do that, then your argument cannot really stand like that. Also, I'll tell people, because most people say that the message over the beat that I spit is tainted and it has no power, it doesn't overpower whatever evil the beat already has on it. But I'm like, yo, but if Snoop rapped over a Lecrae beat, you would not be like, yo, that's good, let me share this, because the Lecrae beat is going to carry God's power. Like, we don't believe like that, and we need to stop acting like the devil has any kind of power over the word of God. Like, we spit God's words, forget anything. I don't care if they prayed over the beat, I don't care what they said over the beat, it's ours now. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel.
Hello, this is for Saturn. I was just doing a lot of missions around the United States. Did you do any of the prophecies here in the Dallas area? Or?
Ask that one more time, bro. Speak up a little bit.
Did you do any of the discipling around the Dallas area?
Yeah, we actually have a hall cell group out here that they meet, and do fellowships. We're in about, right now, after last year, we're now in probably over 50 different cities in the country. I'm actually working right now on updating our website and getting all of the information about everything. There's about 15 different ministries underneath the Almighty Umbrella that are operating at any given time. And so I know a lot of people, a lot of people do want to get involved to some degree in something going on, you know what I'm saying, in your city and stuff like that. So we're working to better kind of communicate that, and even I'm actually working on putting together curriculum style booklets that, let's say you want to do homeless ministry, you know what I'm saying, we can actually help you to learn the proper way to engage people and to even see if that's really something you're called to do, because if you can't stand the smell of butt and fear, you know what I'm saying, you're probably not for you. We're just, with all my main, yeah, I said that. We're working on, doing a better job of kind of communicating the stuff that we have going on, so we can help people who want to get involved in these type of ministries and stuff. They still can't believe it. It's gonna get worse.
One last question, and we're going to get right into photos.
Hey man, how y'all doing, man? What's up, bro? Now what I want to say, man, I just want to thank God for you brothers' music, man. Because most of us has came out to sing the word before we knew Christ. And we wanted to, man, we thinking, man, Christian music, they ain't got no lyrics. Until, I just happened to say, well, let me, God lead me in the right direction. And he led me to, I heard your messages. All your messages tell us, man, dude, you're ready. So I started putting out my other partners and say, man, hey, man. Because when people were hearing this, they say, man, you jamming such and such. And I was listen to the words. You got to hear what this man is saying. God, just the way God said we got to use our members, how we use them in the world. That don't mean change up who you God made you to be, just use it for him. And it's funny, the first time before I heard your message, I heard you a P-Dub. Y'all had the best of both worlds. And on the cover, I thought you was the singer thing, because light skin, had glasses on. I said, man, I'm thinking the whole time, P-Dub is the rapper. And then I come out with another, I said, man, I seen the video, I said, man, P-Dub is the singer and he's the rapper. And it messed me up. And it was funny to me when I saw that. I said, man, I'm mixing this dude up with somebody else. But I just thank God, man, you my favorite rapper.
for us, you know, I praise God for that, man. And when my wife loves you, I know you're doing something. Cause you listen to you the gospel, but something about you, man. And I like your boldness, man. I want to tell you, man, don't stop, man. Don't compromise. You know, you just keep doing what God got you doing. And then I met y'all at God. Y'all do thing at God, Mesquite. And I met you before we came to see me set. We was getting ready to leave. And you said, say, man, you're not going to stay for set? And I had really never heard set. Say, man, that dude blew me away. And since then, I feel a fan, man. Especially when you guys, you can't judge my work.
So, but it's always God. I also think it's important in terms of picking the team, man. Pick the team, pick the people that are pushing you towards right.
I'll bypass that gentleman right here, so we're going to have him have the last question.
This question is for Bizzle, by the way, man. I love the music. I mean, listen to you since you did things anyway back in the day. I got two questions, short time. How do you go about picking your team? Right now, I'm a local artist. I'm with a team I'm not too sure about their work. So how do you go about deciding who you will work with as far as your teammates?
Man, I try to let God do the picking. Because each of them have it in a really exclusive, different type of way. Even, GS, we was in the same class in 11th grade. You know what I'm saying? We went to the same high school. He sat behind me and my wife in high school. You know what I'm saying? So you can't go back in time and sit behind me in high school. You know what I'm saying? Instead, I was on the interview. Somebody was like, yo, you should reach out to Seb. He's real. I think you like. I reached out to him, and as I saw him, I was like, yo, what was you with that at Freddy's party at the club in Riverside? Yada. He was like, yeah, we crossed paths in the world. You know, so he was up there still spitting that truth when he was in the club doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I respected it when I heard it. Stay Live, he put this record out about me initially. You know what I'm saying? We ended up patching it up, brought him on the squad. Bumps. I did a contest to see who would be able to get on Bryce Reigns. He won the contest, dealt with him, brought him on the squad. The boss here introduced me to Dayton. He started off as an A&R with the label. He got on a couple records, killed them. The love we sharing, I was like, yo, you come on too. You know what I'm saying? So I've met everybody in different kind of ways, but they've never been forced relationships or anything like that. So it's really just about who God brings in our path, and you know, this is wills we work in that capacity. But either way, there's a lot of people I'm down with that are not on the label. Like Seven's been my big brother since I got on, and never been on the label until now. So, but it's always God.
I also think it's important in terms of picking the team, man. Pick the team, pick the people that are pushing you towards Christ. You know what I'm saying? Pick the people that's going to tell you the truth about what you're sure in your personal life. You know what I'm saying? That's really what we need to be more focused on than anything. You know, because if we see first the kingdom, you know, everything else is going to be added to us. You know, but a lot of times we pick a team based on like, you know, some fleshly thing that you may have or whatever. You know, sometimes the worst thing that can happen is that you actually get what you want. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's that. I know for me personally, like when I first started Hog Mob, it was basically the only stipulation was that you had to confess with your mouth that you love God. You know what I'm saying? We had like 1,000 dudes who we were not Christians, you know. And then over time, you know, as I started getting closer to the Lord and I started making Christ more of a priority in my life, and walking in holiness was more of a priority in my life, those so-called friends turned quickly into enemies because I was no longer their meal ticket to get to the rap game. Now we have to do Bible study before we go to the studio, and they didn't want no parts of that. You know, so I also think that it's important too, if you are building a team, to stretch them spiritually and really test them. see where their heart is at. You know, the Bible says, I believe it's in 1 Timothy, that they need to pass the test before they get a promotion. You know, a lot of times you see a lot of in rap and nowadays, especially in Christian rap, when you got so many young brothers in the faith walking away from the faith, but look how we're doing, man. Look how quickly we're throwing platforms under these young cats, and then we expect them to stand strong, man. You don't understand the weight that this comes with. Their shoulders aren't built for that because they haven't been trained up properly, you know, so we have to be careful about stuff like that.